In the wake of signing with Matchroom, Billy Joe Saunders has given some interviews and he's kind of expressed his thoughts on who he wants to fight next and given his thoughts onto some of the other competition that's out there. Now, first person I want to address is that he said that he reckons that he will face Gennady Golovkin and that he will beat him by a wide margin, okay? And it's also come to light now that Gennady Golovkin, he's close to, it's not necessarily signing the deal with Matchroom, but he's close to having a partnership going with Eddie Hearn. Now, I would assume that would mean that, because we already know Golovkin and his own promotional company has a deal with DAZN, I would assume that would mean that Golovkin will probably be promoting the shows, but a lot of Matchroom fighters will be on the card. I'm assuming it's kind of something like that, because we're hearing a lot of rumours that he's set to fight that guy, Derevyanchenko, in October for the vacant IBF middleweight title. Now, Billy Joe and Golovkin, there's been so many rumours over the years about them two possibly meeting. I think that the main one that I remember was 2 years ago after I think Golovkin fought Jacobs and there was talk of the unification, the undisputed middleweight title fight in Kazakhstan. Obviously that never materialised. Golovkin went on to fight Canelo. I think that was the main reason why the fight never happened. I think that Team Golovkin was given an ultimatum of fight Billy Joe and no Canelo fight, or don't fight Billy Joe and you get the Canelo fight. I just assume that's kind of what it is. But Billy Joe still wants that fight and he still calls out Gennady Golovkin, and you can tell he wants that fight. And being with Eddie Hearn and hearing that there might be a partnership going between Eddie Hearn and between Triple G and his promotional company, I think it's GGG Promotions or something, that kind of leads me to believe that Billy Joe versus Triple G will be likely. Probably not this year, maybe next year. But in the meantime, another rival that Billy Joe was taking a few digs at is, of course, Chris Eubank Jr. Now, Chris Eubank Jr. a few weeks ago came out and basically, had a go at Billy Joe, saying, he's only known because of Eubank Jr. And Billy Joe's taken exception to that, and he's come out and he said, I'm reading this on off Boxing Scene here, he said that he's a world-class bum. If I couldn't beat him, I'd never put on gloves again. He's fit and strong, that's it. The Eubank Jr. fight is one that I would entertain. I would beat him with my eyes closed. I'd put him in top 5 or 6 in the world, not even. He's a domestic level fighter. So that's what Billy Joe has had to say, go really go in on Eubank Jr. again. And, in the wake of what Eubank Jr. said about Billy Joe only being known from the fight, you can kind of understand that. Billy Joe, though, he said stuff like that before. I remember when he was fighting Eubank Jr. originally, I think he swore on his son's life, if I'm not mistaken, that he'd retire if he didn't stop Eubank Jr. in 5 rounds. Obviously, he didn't stop him in 5 rounds. He didn't retire. And he's saying again that he'd never put the gloves on if he fought Eubank Jr. and he lost. Now, if they ever did have a rematch, I'd still pick Billy Joe to win. Maybe closer than some people might think, but I still think it'd be a reasonably straightforward fight for Billy Joe. I think that Billy Joe, he's fitter now. He seems to have a little bit more discipline in terms of staying in shape. Obviously discipline in terms of what he does outside the ring, in terms of just silly little things he does, still leaves a few questions there, but his discipline in terms of staying in shape doesn't seem to be that bad. Seems to be doing, seems to be keeping in shape a lot more, and if he's in shape a lot more, it means he's cutting less weight, means that he'd be a bit fresher, a bit sharper and a bit fitter when he gets into the ring. That's why I think that as well he'd beat Eubank Jr. in a rematch. I think that Eubank Jr., the DeGale performance was a good performance, but as I said, I was predicting that from the outset. DeGale fought absolutely horribly that fight, and I've heard some people say that was the best they've ever seen James DeGale. No, that was the worst I've ever seen James DeGale. Seriously, I've never seen him that bad. Eubank Jr. fought an absolutely shot to pieces James DeGale. Fighting a Billy Joe, different story. Things Billy Joe wouldn't do that James DeGale did do, such as closing the distance for Eubank Jr. by leaning in and lunging in. Billy Joe wouldn't do that. So I'd like to see that fight. I think that it's easier probably with Eubank to make the Eubank Jr. fight now that Billy Joe is with Hearn as opposed to Warren, because you can definitely tell there's still a lot of animosity between the Eubanks and Frank Warren. There probably is still between Eddie Hearn and the Eubanks, but I think Hearn would be more willing to kind of work with the Eubanks again if he thought it would make him some money, as opposed to Frank Warren. Frank Warren just seems bitter towards the Eubanks in general. End of. So that's my thoughts on this. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like below, subscribe for new, and as always, I will talk to you after.